The Rewatchables is brought to you by the Ringer Podcast Network, where you can find the big picture of Amanda Dobbins.
Yes.
You can find House of R as part of the Ringerverse Network with Mallory Rubin. You can find the Bill Simmons podcast. You can find Rock Bottom Month on the Rewatchables, which I think people thought was going to just be this sad, depressing month where we do like Requiem for a Dream and $1 Million Baby. There's certain movies that aren't rewatchable. I would say Requiem for a Dream, like great movie. I wouldn't want to sit through it again. I don't know why I wanted to sit through Manchester by the Sea 3 times, but that movie's an amazing movie.
Beautiful movie. I joined the chorus of people who went, oh my God, as soon as it showed up on my feed. And I listened to it, and it was a great podcast.
Yeah, listen, we're just trying to have good podcasts
wonderful
here.
film.
But I'll never rewatch that movie.
Well, here's a movie we've all rewatched many times, War of the Roses. There's no winning in this movie. There's only degrees of losing. War of the Roses is next. All right. The children of divorce are here.
Here we are.
This is so real.
We're back, baby.
This might actually, I missed Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah. This is our first rewatchables together, ever.
No, that's
is
not
that
true.
I think so.
Come on. That can't be true.
I guess maybe rewatchables.
So. Yeah.
First of all, just test run for Witness right here, right now. Yeah. Next year's the
That's really our
year
agenda
anniversary.
Today, is just
Great.
Get Witness on the books.
Sure.
We got Harrison right here.
There you go.
There he is.
Exactly.
So I missed Kramer versus Kramer.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's all right. It was a great month, and I listened to that podcast at home and had a lot of feelings. But this might actually be the more on point child of divorce movie for me.
Wow.
Interesting. It's an important cinematic pantheon for all of us. And I think that your like mood of the moment probably dictates what divorce movie is on your personal Mount Rushmore at any given moment in time, because the tone shifts so supremely. Now, I am always personally inclined toward the ones that introduce a deep and like abiding level of despair, but every now and then it's nice to laugh.
Like a Squid and the Whale type of just...
Love Squid and the Whale.
Yeah.
That
could have been another rock bottom
Marriage
month.
Story.
Marriage Story is my
Kramer.
number one of the bound back divorce odes, but of which there are several.
I only watched that once. I didn't... I just can't do that one again.
It's made me weep every single time. And so that's different. There are the divorce films that give the emotional response.
Yes, exactly.
And then the films that just set up rage and bitterness.
Well, the divorce movie pantheon, if we were just going to pick 4, what's interesting is I think Kramer versus Kramer and War of the Rose have to be on it no matter whose list it is.
Yes.
And then the other 2 are kind of up to the person. And I don't think there's a right answer. Like you could put Heartburn, which I know is probably in yours, right?
Well,
no,
it's not about the divorce as much. It happens pretty quickly at the end that she leaves him.
Yeah.
So that's more about
I guess
infidelity
you're right.
and
so it's like
a
a prison movie where we're
together.
not in prison enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have, for me, it's Irreconcilable Differences would be in my top 4.
Incredible movie.
Which
so
you
hard
can't
to
find.
see now.
Yeah, it's just gone. I don't know if there's something illegal that happened in it or what, but it's just gone.
Great pick.
And then probably Squid and the Whale is number 4.
Yeah, I think so for me too. I love that movie.
I think mine is Mrs. Doubtfire for the child perspective.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
All right, so
and it came out at the right time.
That's really smart.
When I was going through that.
That's really smart because you
much.
think of it as a Robin Williams movie, but it's really a divorce movie.
Yeah,
also, like for people our age, the experience of watching that with each of your parents as a child of divorce, and like, did the experience differ depending on which of your parents
you were watching?
Process
with both of your parents that I never had. I was alone in my third room watching this movie and not talking about it with them, but that's beautiful.
We were a very media inclined family, Yeah.
It is weird that there haven't been more like iconic divorce movies.
Yeah.
Should we make one?
You think like, what do they say? Like 50% of marriages end in divorce?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we barely have enough for a divorce movie pantheon?
They say 2 things. They say 50% of marriages end in divorce, and they say a civilized divorce is a contradiction in terms. Thank you, Gavin.
Well, there's a whole 80s piece in this that I can't wait for producer Craig's take on this movie later. He did not know what it was. Cannot wait. But there's this 80s piece of it that's hard to explain now, these years later, where Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner were the Hepburn and Tracy of the 80s. And it seemed like they were going to make 20 movies together. And somehow this was the last one. I think part of the shock value of this movie was that people loved Romancing the Stone. They didn't like Jewel of the Nile as much, but they just like them together.
You're glad that they're back.
Yeah, it's just like I just like these two in a movie. So it's like, oh, but they're making War of the Roses. That'll be fun. It's a black comedy. How bad can it be? And then the last hour, they try to kill each other, and they end up both dead in the bottom in a chandelier. And people were shocked.
Yeah.
And it was really effective. And I'm glad the studio didn't say, you got to change the ending. They got to live and have them get up. And he broke some ribs and she broke her arm, but they're fine. No, they died. And the movie ended.
Yeah, they're dead. They're dead.
They're very dead. Yeah.
But do you remember the shock value of that as you were growing up? Like, oh my God, I can't believe they actually died.
Well, I don't think Mal and I wouldn't have seen it when it came out
seen it on
in the
cable
80s.
the first time you saw it.
And this was also part of just like a larger Michael Douglas goes dark discovery for me because of my age. The first Michael Douglas movie I saw was The American President.
Yeah.
And I saw it about 100 times.
And it's still the most important movie in your life.
And it truly, he's one of our great movie presidents. And then
really
I discovered Basic Instinct and what's the rabbit movie that
Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction. I just couldn't remember the title. And
the rabbit movie.
Yeah,
he was the president before you watched his balls swing on the way to the bathroom.
So you go back and you're just like, oh, Michael Douglas, you were not up to good things. And so everything that he did to me from like 87 to 94. Disclosure, there's another one. You're
Disclosure.
just like, this is bad.
Top 3.
Wild
I
movie.
don't really want this blowjob, but I also kind of want it. Reaction by an actor. Single white female.
Top
obviously.
3 just for Michael Douglas.
Just for Michael Douglas. Oh, no, maybe. Oh, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a genre he excels in.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that you brought up his balls swinging in Basic Instinct
you.
because
Yeah.
we broke
Thank
it
you.
down when we did the
We
Rewatchables
did.
about it. Which
A memorable segment.
Yeah.
for some reason did really well on YouTube, that episode. And I don't know if people just search for Basic Instinct on YouTube.
Also, like early COVID days, we were all trying to figure out how to pass the time.
what our place was.
Yeah,
And
thinking
it
about
turned
life.
out to be Michael Douglas's balls.
Thinking
Swing.
about ice picks and swinging balls.
Hey,
what a
Roxy.
time that was.
Oh my God.
Let's have a talk. So Douglas and Turner, this was it. And the biggest reason this was it was because Turner, she started to have a ton of health problems and her career went in a different direction. But man, when I was growing up in the 80s, she was like my platonic ideal for like, someday I hope I get to marry somebody like Kathleen Turner. She was she was Julia Roberts before Julia Roberts making more interesting choices.
Yes, but also just the sex appeal on 11 from the very beginning. Because body
Cross
heat,
with comedy.
yeah, and
That's
she's
the
very
thing.
funny, but she's also just out there. The voice, the way that she's playing the roles,
The legs,
it's very
tall.
different from America's Sweetheart.
Yes.
The combination of those two factors, the sex appeal and the humor in this movie, is calibrated to perfection from the word go. The handstand.
Yeah.
Like, we just know exactly the movie that we're going to watch.
The handstand and the bralessness, which is also just
I
right
love
there.
the
Good
rain.
for them,
I love it too as I stare at your very present nipples through your
Right.
completely
Yeah,
transparent
she's going
white
wet,
blouse.
wet shirt within 10 minutes of the movie.
Wonderful.
Yeah, she
Wonderful.
had, because she's in Man with Two Brains, which is not a great movie, but, if you love Steve Martin, and if you love Steve Martin, I'm probably saw the documentary.
It's wonderful.
But I like that movie because I liked every Steve Martin movie. And she comes in, coming off body heat, throwing like 119 miles an hour, and basically kept that going for the entire decade.
Yeah.
And made some bad ones. There's some stinkers. She made that Burt Reynolds movie that was atrocious.
Yes.
She made that really weird Ken Russell movie where she was like a housewife by day and a hooker by night. Crimes of Passion.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That movie's insane.
That's tough.
I mean, that's like that's probably not even
Quite a
allowed on
log line.
streamers. She famously wanted. She wanted 9.5 weeks, and they didn't cast her, and she was like devastated. She lobbied for it.
Do you think
didn't
that's
get
how
it.
they pitched it at the studios?
What? Housewife by day, hooker by night. By the way, great idea for a prestige show.
Sure. I
In
mean,
in the
for a
Tinder era?
prestige, but specifically for a prestige show on Showtime that only we watch.
and Showtime doesn't even exist anymore. Yeah, where would that go now?
I mean, it would go on Showtime on Paramount Plus, I think.
I feel like it would
Stars?
go on that weird part of Netflix where every once in a while, Stars would be interesting.
Yeah.
Stars is a
Netflix
inspired
doesn't
call.
quite have enough sex.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, it felt like she was, if not the
man.
biggest actress of the 80s, she was at least in the conversation. The way I would compare her to somebody now would probably be like with less Oscars, but like kind of Emma Stone, how Emma Stone takes weird chances. And it's just like you're prepared for anything from her from an IMDb standpoint. Because Emma Stone could have been in Romancing the Stone. She also easily could have been in War of the Roses. And I feel like she also would have made Crimes of Passion, just said, fuck it.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know whether she would be in Body Heat.
Yeah, that's only a few actresses could have pulled out Body Heat.
Poor Things has a lot of sexual content, but it's in a different tone. It's a very funny tone. I think she's great in that movie. But she's sort of like Kathleen Turner and Julia Roberts combined.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I don't know who Kathleen Turner is now.
Wow.
I don't know if it exists.
Scarlett
was kind of dancing around it there for a few years. Like Match Point was a Kathleen Turner role.
Margot Robbie started that way and then became Barbie.
It could be Jennifer Lawrence if she wanted it.
Oh, if she wanted it. Look at Craig's challenging Jennifer Lawrence.
But she also has a screwball side to her
that
she's very good at. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah,
Lawrence has the physicality.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Katniss Everdeen.
Because Lawrence,
sure.
We should talk about this now. We had already decided we were doing this, and they announced this week they're remaking.
What a news song.
I know, it's incredible.
Remaking War of the Roses with Benedict Cumberbatch
and Olivia Colman.
And I don't know if I like it.
What do you think of this casting choice?
I don't like it.
Two of our great actors.
I go where Olivia Colman goes.
Yeah, this is how I feel.
I get it.
That's where I am.
It's not my choice for her, I guess.
Sure, but I think that she can do nasty really well.
Yeah.
And she is sort of fearless in that she'll just be really, really weird on screen. Benedict Cumberbatch seems like a
more
perfectly
surprising
good actor.
one. I think.
I don't see them married.
Right.
That's a weird couple.
Well, I guess the key, right, the thing that you have to be able to nail in the pairing inside of the Roses is like you have to believe they would be attracted to each other almost like recklessly initially.
Yeah.
But utterly incompatible. Both of those things have to be true.
They need to be hot, and Coleman and Cumberbatch are not hot enough.
They're more adult.
That's right. This starts.
But maybe
supposed
it's
to be in their
different
20s, and now they're.
Maybe it's a different war. Maybe it's a different War of the Roses.
I mean, sure.
This is a question too, because like not to jump ahead to discussing the details of the film, but what level of ferocity from the final 45 minutes of this movie will be present in a modern day version of it?
Where
right.
Yeah, it's like either of them could kill the other. Like, how do you dance around that line in 2024? I don't know.
Yeah. It's an interesting, because this is a beloved, like, classic movie that is harder to make in 2024 than it was in 89.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there is like a blowjob attack. There is a full...
that was the original name of the movie. Blowjob Attack. They tested it.
I mean, Kathleen Turner just like absolutely rocks him in the face.
Yeah.
You know, which you don't see that much in domestic circumstances anymore.
Well, then he says, next time I'll hit back. That line's not happening.
Down the stairs.
Right. She has a lot of bruises after she does the cartwheels down the... Which, you know what? That doesn't totally line up for me, but she has them. So that's ugly. Yeah.
So she's Body Heat. These are the highlights. Body Heat, Romancing the Stone, Pritzi's Honor, Peggy Sue Got Married. She was the voice in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was a massive deal because that was a huge, influential movie. And then War of the Roses. And this is all in the 80s. I mean, she made 12 movies. Douglas, we've talked about the Douglas Sons many times. It really starts with Romancing the Stone in 84.
Yeah.
And then from 87 on, when he rips off Fatal Attraction, Wall Street, Black Rain, War of the Roses, Shining Through. Basic Instinct, Falling Down, Disclosure, American President, Ghost of the Darkness in the Game. It's just like hit after hit.
What a guy.
Fatal
the best
Attraction
batting
and Wall
average.
Street in the same years.
It's brilliant.
Like if he was baseball, the batting, his stats would have just been crazy.
He'd be
like Barry Bonds
a member of
steroids.
the Norfolk Tides this year. He'd be one of the Orioles prospects at
Baltimore
AAA, hitting
AAA
600.
Yeah.
You know,
we're getting
into
Justin
you lost the
Kerstad putting up
audience.
10 RBI
we're getting
the other
into
night.
baseball on the big pick right now because the Mets are just absolutely a shambles. So I'm more up to date than you would think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. But this, out of all those movies, this and like only the stuff he did with Kathleen Turner was the comedy stuff. And I actually think he was really good at the comedy and the back and forth, and I just wonder why he didn't do more of it.
I would like to ask you if you are familiar with a character called Hank Pym.
Oh God,
Hank Pym.
I knew that we were going to do this, Bill.
But I'm excited to tell you that
I'm so
more
sorry.
Michael Douglas comedy awaits in the MCU.
Oh, we're doing this? Oh my
So
God.
I am delighted to tell you that Michael Douglas is
else.
funny as Hank Pym in the MCU.
Don't say anything
in
else.
the Ant-Man movies.
And let me, who has seen 2 of the 3 Ant-Man movies, but honestly, I don't remember whether I saw 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Or 2. I saw 3.
You definitely saw Quantumania because we podcasted about it together.
So
and you tried to explain the science. I remember it vividly.
But he's an elderly scientist who was married to Michelle Pfeiffer.
Correct.
Oh.
But then she got trapped in a
My
different...
girl.
Yeah, she got trapped in a different universe.
In the quantum
so
realm.
they don't
Damn
really...
it.
Yeah. And his power is that he can... Can he make what's with the ants?
He was Ant-Man before Scott became Ant-Man. Scott
but
inherits
what
the
is
Ant-Man
Ant-Man's
cells.
power?
Well,
they just can be really small.
Well, that's the Pym particles. You know, you can get smaller. You can turn into giant man. You get bigger. But also, he's a scientific genius.
Oh.
The ties to.
But he's just like grandpa in the corner,
Starks,
being
etc.
like, "Why don't you make it smaller,
It's
son?"
great. It's quite amusing.
That's what he's doing in this movie?
It's so sad.
No.
No, it's not sad. It's wonderful. It's inspired.
He is incredibly charismatic when he's on screen in these otherwise just
Evangeline
computer
Lilly
nightmares.
plays his daughter.
And Evangeline Lilly and Michelle Pfeiffer
no.
just have reached the age where they look the same age and will forever. So that's like another. And then Michael Douglas is aging very well, but looks about 30 years older than both of them. He's very charming. And then he has to go away and there are lots of ants.
Check it out.
We had a lot of A+ list male stars in the 80s. And we always talk about this, but Costner's on the rise. Douglas is at his peak. Harrison Ford, your guy.
I mean, untouched.
Yeah.
Denzel's coming. Cruise is here. There's just and I wonder like who gets pushed out.
Great moment for movie stars.
Michael Douglas, because he thought like a producer and had this whole producer background as he was an actor and just knew what was commercial over and over and over again.
You don't see that many hits that's 30 years later or 40 years later. We're like, oh, that was a classic. That was a classic. That was a classic. The taste was spot on.
Yeah. And he's one of the most, his taste was some of the most rewatchable that we've had in this podcast. I don't know where he ranks in the all-time leaders, but it's got to be pretty high up there. So yeah, these two together, this was about as marketable as it was going to get. And also we had Danny DeVito directing. I have some complicated thoughts about that.
Sure. Yeah. Don't we all?
I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah, we can save that for later. But Danny DeVito was also a really big star in the 80s. I mean, he's doing the Schwarzenegger movies. He's always the third wheel with these two and was on a really great run. So yeah, that $26 million budget made $160 million.
Not bad.
13th highest grossing movie in 1989. Our guy Raj.
Yeah.
3 stars.
Okay.
Yeah.
The War of the Roses is a black, angry, bitter, unrelenting comedy. A war between the sexes that makes James Thurber's work on the same subject look almost resigned by comparison. But Raj likes story.
He sure does.
This movie had some story.
Love story.
I wanted to save a lot for the categories because there's a lot of ways to go. There's when is like the rewatchable scenes part. Should Danny DeVito even really be in this movie?
Right.
Okay. Most rewatchable scene. So it's not really a rewatchable scene, but I do like when they're young in Nantucket, which is in Nantucket. They're like in Washington, pretending it was Nantucket.
I mean, can I just do my nitpick now?
Go.
That's just absolutely not Nantucket.
It's not even close.
That's your nitpick from that sequence?
Oh my God.
Well, not that Michael Douglas is 45 playing a college student?
There's that too.
Harvard Law.
He's a law student,
45.
okay? They accept people at all ages.
She's
He
in
took
Madison.
a gap year.
They are college students. I'm sorry, this is...
She's an undergraduate gymnast is actually way harder to believe that he is just age-wise than him being a law
Here's a
student.
new thing that
I think that all of this makes it rewatchable though, because it's
Totally.
so ridiculous.
Rewatching this, a thing that I realized was now a new sacred belief of mine is that from here on, when people have a debate about whether de-aging has a place
In movies?
I will point to this and say this is why it is okay to de-age Harrison Ford in Dial of Destiny or to de-age, actually, Michael Douglas in the MCU
there's one
as
worse
Hank
one
Pym.
though. There's a worse one. The Natural with Roy Hobbs.
Yeah.
Redford's like 16 or 17.
Yeah.
Going in and they have to like light it in a dark way for him and Glenn Close. And Redford's
He's an ageless
48.
wonder, though.
Sure.
But he's 48
I
playing a 16 or 17-year-old or however old he is. That's tough.
Anyway,
but yeah, this was...
It's not Nantucket. the ferry is not just like a rowboat that they pull up to the island in Nantucket. Nantucket is the capital of all of the buildings
also,
have to
just
look alike.
film in Nantucket. Nantucket would be like, we're happy to have them.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I don't either.
This
It's like,
sequence,
I got to catch the ferry. It's like, well, you're not in Nantucket. What part of the Cape are
You
you
don't just
in?
like run down a hill to the ferry.
It's
they had to get
really
quickly,
tough.
as quickly as possible under that like sateen bedding for
Right.
their first fuck.
so I don't know if this is a rewatchable scene, but it probably is. Just that whole part because it's
Their
so
sex
ridiculous.
scene?
No, just like wigs.
The Nantucket. Yes.
I'm not saying it's
sure.
a good scene, but I think it's
Memorable.
really fun to watch.
Never,
Yeah.
never apologize
For being
for being
multi-orgasmic.
multi-orgasmic.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know I was.
Yeah, but you knew she's lying. That's
Right.
the first lie of the
Just
relationship.
exceptional. Exceptional stuff. It's the return of the bald Avenger. Fantastic movie moment. I have no notes. None.
I have the first big dinner scene leading into the bedroom argument.
Yeah.
Right.
Man. Yeah.
DeVito and
Although
the
I
foot
will
fetish.
say for
Yes.
rewatchables, I like when she finds the house and walks in and it's a funeral and she's like, oh
Also
my God,
great.
it's my
Great
destiny in
Also
life.
great.
Yeah.
Destiny in life. That's solid.
Also
Yeah.
great.
And just like the writing notes everywhere at various houses.
Oh,
yeah.
And the kids
Yeah,
being
yeah.
like, this has never worked.
Yeah. She's been doing it for a year.
Yeah.
The dinner scene on the DeVito front, the fact that he's directing the movie, he's one of the like ultimately leads of the movie, certainly given the framing device. He has like an astonishing amount of the runtime. And part of the story that he gives himself is I'm going to get a foot job at the table.
Yeah.
This is just astonishing stuff.
Yeah. You
It's
almost
remarkable.
like, why didn't you cut this out of your own movie? I really like, though, because it's all going good and we know it's going to go badly. But when she tries to tell the story and he's like coaching her and then he
fantastic.
takes over and
Correcting her French. And
you just go into all the times you've gone to dinner with friends or whatever, and you're like, oh no, I've
Deeply
seen moments
relatable.
Like, yeah,
Painful
you've been sitting
moment.
there next to your spouse who's telling a story, and you're just like, no, I'm not going to take over, but that's not how it goes.
Right.
But that's not,
The best part of it is, in fact, I think the debrief in their bedroom after the fact. Like, which part is actually more relatable? The cringe-worthy nature of like watching your partner struggle through something that you teed them up for and then immediately regret?
yeah.
Or that moment after where you are just eviscerating each other, not for like the substance of the thing you said, but ultimately who you are. Like when
Yeah.
she mocks his laugh. It's just unbelievable. I also love when she says, you care so desperately what everyone thinks. Fuck face. Just like tax on that fuck face for good measure. It's great.
Oh, I guess I had this out of line or out of order because I had Barb finds her dream house as one of the rewatchable scenes. Yeah.
Great stuff.
Barb talking to the live-in nanny
Susan's
about
interview.
whether she should hire her or not.
Yeah, and
and
like-
then she ends up hiring her, but her whole as she's laying out like what
like
her
her
life
fake
is
women's
like.
lib speech of just being like,
Yeah.
I need that. But, she's full of shit, but like trying to go through it. It's really good.
This is real. Like I saw the monologue in Barbie once.
Yeah.
I time travel.
Yeah.
It's really true.
I gotta say, I really feel like she was a great actress.
Oh,
Kathleen
was.
Turner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. This
I don't
scene
even
in
know
particular.
if she. I don't think she ever won an Oscar or anything like that. But I just feel like I think she's doing high end stuff in this.
She
Like
is.
she's funny as hell. She's sexy as hell. She's like kind of making fun of herself, spoofing herself. She's playing off Douglas in all the right ways. I'm just a huge fan. The near heart attack, but then him snoring in bed and her sitting there and then finally just getting mad and plugging her fingers up the nose.
It's really good.
I mean, really, this is when the movie becomes the
Yeah.
movie. This
Well,
is the moment right here.
It's very brief, but the gymnastics sexual assault, basically. It's not assault. They're
Oh, when
having
she-
sex, but
when
when
she-
she does, in fact,
Yeah.
give him the tear, like via the gymnastics
It's the
callback.
official medical stance
Sure,
was it could not cause
it could
the
not
tear.
be possible, but that's a good bit. It's
Yeah.
Tear
good.
was not from that. Before the fingers in the nose, though, the preceding scene, which is him dramatically reading his letter to her,
Yeah.
I think this is like art of the highest order. This
really
is
funny.
astonishing to me, this scene. Like, I just think this is unbelievable. The way that he is like, recounting what happened, right? He gets to a line where he also can't read his handwriting. He's like, right, this is where I had a spasm.
Yeah.
But the best part, I think, is when he says that he didn't have the strength to sign it because he wants to earn her pity. And she says, I'm sure they would have told me who it was from. And like the look on his
so
face.
good. It's really, really good.
And this is before she says basically like, I don't want to be with you anymore. But you can feel obviously everything in that moment. Like it is just perfection.
Well, that leads to I'm very upset. I got scared because I felt happy. And he's like, it's okay. Oh, and then she says that. He's like, wait, what? I was happy to be free, like a weight had been lifted. He's like, what's going on? And the divorce request. And then finally, Matt, is this the part you like the most when he says, you owe me a reason that makes sense, let's hear it. And she goes, because when I watch you eat, when I see you asleep, when I look at you lately, I just want to smash your face in.
Yeah, that's also really relatable content, you know? Like, you've been with someone for a long time, and it's just like, what if we ate meals in separate rooms so that I didn't have to hear you too? Let's just, as Jacoby says, no bad ideas in a brainstorm.
Yeah.
The way that Barbara is watching Oliver cut his steak.
Yeah.
The absolute disdain on her face watching him.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
I don't know if another movie has ever captured this specifically in like a funnier way.
Right.
Where he's cutting steak and she's just, and you read everything she's thinking, and she's like, if I could just make the Chandler fall on him now, I would.
For her, in this movie, there is no counteracting emotion attached to it. And in all other divorce movies, it's like someone is already mourning what they had, and don't you remember this like lovely time that we spent in Nantucket or whatever? And she is just like, I absolutely hate you and hate this.
I have outgrown you, and I
and
exclusively resent the fact that you're a part of my life.
Yeah.
There's no regret.
And he's trying to do everything I did is you were a part of. And she just hates his guts.
Yeah.
And then that scene ends with him saying, you better get yourself a good lawyer. And she says, best your money can buy.
Yeah.
That scene's unbelievable. That's one of the better scenes of the late 80s. We get the divorce mediation.
Oh, yeah.
When she says, I want the house, she uses the letter against him.
Brutal.
You need something like that where it's
really
like,
good.
oh, you're going to do that?
Brutal.
We're rolling the sleeves up already?
Yeah.
That's when he says, excuse me, Mr. Wormont, you tiny, worm-like, infinitesimal prick.
He has some great lines in that scene. By showing him my letter, you have sunk below the deepest layer of prehistoric frog shit at the bottom of the New Jersey scum swamp. The specificity of New Jersey there is an excellent touch, I think.
There's a short scene when they're fighting and the multi-orgasmic part, and she says, you really expect me to keep reassuring you sexually even though now we discussed each other? And he pulls away and the kids are right there holding groceries.
Unbelievable. They're doing like the George Michael slow sad Arrested Development walk.
Yeah.
Great reaction
that part's
shot.
great.
Really good.
My personal favorite scene in the movie, when Oliver runs over the cat, is great. This made me so happy that we're doing this with Mal.
I resent the fact that you asked me to participate in this podcast for this reason.
Okay, when there was a cat murder?
This is terrible.
Was it murder or manslaughter?
I think it was involuntary manslaughter. He didn't see the cat.
Exactly.
But he also didn't care. This is just devastating. Also, like,
he did care.
No intent.
He did care. There was cat guts on his car. He had to wash the cat off
he
the
had
car.
to quickly spritz the wheel and ask Susan to go get a Ziploc. This is horrific.
Big Ziploc. Get that cat out of there.
Poor Benny watching what happens to Kitty.
Yeah.
The weeping in the grass. I mean, this is awful. I have some more thoughts coming on the pets.
Barbara goes to visit Gavin, Danny DeVito's character, to try to seduce him.
Yep.
Have you ever made angry love? This is just Turner just cooking.
Any other kind?
I haven't been into foot stuff since 82.
That line kills me.
And then we go off the rails. We have a dinner for the clients. I think this is my favorite scene. I'm just going to tell you now. Where he pees on the fish.
Sure, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and then it escalates immediately to the car.
The
monster truck.
The monster truck drives over the car. They start throwing statues and china at each other. I do like when the guy says, I definitely advise skipping the fish course. It's a great line.
Fish course. Yeah, the before we build toward Oliver actually just like literally pissing on the fish, the subtlety, it's all relative, right? The subtlety of just like pretending to have a cold.
Yeah.
You enter, you sneeze in front of the gas. You put your tissue in the
It's
soup.
not exactly a subtle sneeze.
Yeah,
it's
the
just like
tissue in the
6
soup was
feet
not
all
subtle.
over
Yeah,
the
but it's
table.
all relative. I mean, when
But
the point
he's
of
in
comparison
the
is
top
pissing
hat
on the
and
fish.
tails, and then an
top
untucked
hat
T-shirt,
is
which is
so
really
funny.
funny. Yeah, it's good.
They have a dinner. She makes doggy pate.
Yeah,
Wow.
A good dog to the last bite.
Thankfully, we get that cut to Benny.
yeah.
Thank God.
I have some thoughts on that later.
Okay.
The movie goes off the rails again, and I don't even know how to describe the last 10 minutes, but it leads to the chandelier swing and the ending,
Sure. Yeah.
which I would give the Great Shot Gordo Award for most cinematic shot as the
yes.
things coming down. It's just really well done.
How
it
about-
feels like it's like 100-foot drop. It's like probably 20.
How about another moment though, like the harbinger that leads to that point when Oliver is like using his baccarat crystals for his little personal symphony, and we pan up past his face to the chandelier.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
Tone
nice
setter.
one. That's a good
Tone
one.
setter.
And then the very end when she moves his hand is just such a great ending.
Yeah.
Using your final breath to say "fuck you"
Yeah,
one
get
more
your hand
time
off me.
is just unbelievable.
So what do you got?
Unbelievable.
What's your favorite scene?
I just wanted to add in one quick thing, which
Please.
is when
Is it him calculating what her equivalent to Susan's salary would be?
that's really good.
Well, she goes to classes too.
It's
so.
when the Christmas tree is lit on fire and he brings
Yeah,
the fire extinguisher and then he
says,
has to
"Thank God
read
I
the
was here."
instructions. No, he has to read the instructions and he's like, part 1, take off the nozzle, part 2. And that is genuinely really funny. And every time I see a fire extinguisher, I
great
think about
physical
it.
comedy in
Yes,
that scene
exactly.
too. Yeah.
So what do you have for most rewatch?
My pick is if it is eligible as it's technically 2 scenes but 1 sequence. It's Oliver reading his letter into Barbara plugging the nostrils
I'm
and
gonna
saying
allow
she
it.
wants the
Okay.
divorce. I think that's just
Yeah.
unmatched.
I think mine has to be the dinner party into
Yeah,
the
that's mine,
car,
too.
into the Stafford shirt.
Yeah. And also, like, when
quite
they
a
start
run.
throwing at each other, it's like just a good action scene. So DeVito, who I have complicated feelings on with the direction, but that scene's like good.
It's good,
It's fun
yeah.
to watch the stuff flying around. What's age the best?
Mm-hmm.
The Rose, the house is incredible. They did a great job.
It is.
It's like as a prop for
Yes.
when this becomes like an action thriller, basically inside the house. It's just really good. Creepy attic. Big
For
thing.
sure.
Like there's a balcony, there's good stairs to go down. They can kind of use it and run around. The kitchen's
Sauna in
cool.
the basement.
Yeah.
Sauna in the basement.
The layout is good. I do have some
Oh.
discussion points on the house later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold them.
But it
Intriguing.
sets up
Okay.
the action. So you're right. As a plot piece, it's serving
It's
the
a good
film
action
well.
location. Mal,
Yeah.
what do you got for what's age the best? I'll save mine.
We already covered this, but I do think the ultimate pick here has to just be Douglas and Turner, not just as sex symbols, but as comedic geniuses. Like
Yeah.
that, both of them used in that way, but then the particular chemistry and rhythm that they have together is just incredible.
Wait, hold that thought.
Okay.
Does it make you sad that we don't really have that anymore?
Oh.
You mean
Like could Gosling
On-screen
and Gosling and Emma Stone
do this particular? It would be
just have a
hinged
run where they
differently.
do like 7 movies together?
They could. They've done.
They've done a
I just don't
three.
feel like anybody would do that because in the old days, like when this started
Yeah.
in the 40s and 50s, the studio would just be like, "You're doing this,
Right,
you're
Hepburn
doing
and
this."
Tracy, and
You had like
yeah.
no agency over your own career,
and,
and now I think it would be much harder to just align.
And-
Because even like they were supposed to make these Turner and Douglas. Because I read there was a '91 Premiere Magazine interview with her, which was she's throwing grenades everywhere.
I bet.
But she said there was a 4th movie that they were talking about doing, but they never.
right.
So they did 3, but they probably could have done 7.
Particularly like a romantic pair, whether it's like Tom
Yeah.
Hanks and Meg Ryan or
Oh,
Julia
that's a good
Roberts
one.
and Richard Gere.
So how many did Tom
even though-
Hanks and Meg Ryan? They just did 2.
No, they did 3 because Joe and the Volcano, right?
Oh yeah,
And
I guess
then
that counts.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it does. It's
No, it
not
counts.
it's not hallowed in the same way, but it counts. So
Cruise and Val Kilmer too.
sure, that's very beautiful. Yeah.
They had a great love.
But I guess some of it is just because you don't get that many movies centered around a man and a woman anymore. They just aren't interested in that in the same way.
They've kind of run out of ideas for how to do relationship movies.
I guess so. And also people don't seem to want to go see them.
What's your dream couple? I feel like Gosling could have done this.
I mean, he did with Emma Stone for a while.
The Barbie
Yeah.
movie made me wonder, like, if he could have just had this weird 2020's version of a Michael Douglas career as he hit his 40s.
I think he could have.
What
But
about Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence?
How many did they make together?
Well, they just done one, but
Crazy
no,
I'm
they
saying
did 3
Crazy
because
Stupid
they were
Love.
both in American Hustle the next
Yeah.
year, and then they
Oh,
were
sure.
in.
Yeah.
It's not called Sabrina, but it's something.
Right.
Here, let me look at this right now. There was another movie that like basically got buried that they
Yeah,
were
they
in
did 3.
together.
We got some great energy from Gosling and Crazy Stupid Love. Great.
I like the career he's
Serena.
put together. Serena.
Yeah.
What would you have for your next What Stage the Best?
Let's see. Okay. We already talked about the depiction of the stage of marriage where every single thing a person does annoys you to your, like, the fiber of your being. I'm going to put this one out
I mean,
there.
that's just, to be fair, that's just marriage.
It's just
Yeah.
marriage.
Yeah.
It's just marriage.
Get ready, Craig. Craig's still in the honeymoon phase.
He is. I'm going to throw this out there. I think it could go in What's Age the Best, or it could go in What's Age the Worst. I'm curious for everybody to cast a vote. The framing device. The fact that we are accessing this story, this great saga of the Roses, through Gavin's legal practice. Is this a worst or a best?
Let's hold this.
Okay.
Hold it. Okay.
I have a different spot for
Okay.
that
Okay.
combo.
How about the very specific? It's not just that Barbara's interested in pursuing a catering career, pursuing economic freedom, pursuing her purpose and her own sense of self, her individuality. It's liver pate. It's the very specific
really good.
presence of
Specialist.
liver
Yes.
pate in dozens of scenes in this movie.
And are you,
And it
Chopping
doesn't look
we're
very
feeding it
are
to
you
nice.
the
pro
cats.
or anti?
Pate.
Yeah.
I will eat it. I don't like to know what type of liver. The less I know, the better
I'm
it
out.
is.
You sold the
I'm
fact that
out.
this choice in this movie allows for a
Yeah.
line like Oliver saying, "You sold liver to our friends,"
It is
Yeah.
very funny.
is an inspired choice that I enjoy. You mentioned the house. I'm interested to hear more of your house thoughts, but I think specifically like the house as the one thing, like alimony. She's going to let it go, right? They're not really, I mean, their kids are, they've both been accepted to Harvard. Not sure if you've heard, but there aren't a lot of other aspects of the divorce that they're haggling over. It is about one thing, and then that one thing represents everything.
The dream
to both
house
of
that
them.
becomes the nightmare house. Amanda, what do you have?
For What's Age the Best?
Yeah, you have anything?
Sitting at opposite ends of the dinner table to prove you hate each other, just all time.
I
It's
would
really
never,
good.
I don't think there's a single situation in my life where I would have sat on the
it's so
opposite ends of a
weird.
long dinner table like
But
that.
it's just
Why wouldn't you just sit like in the seat
Perfect
right next?
visual language.
Yes.
Oh, this isn't going well. They're sitting
Absolutely.
across from each
Right.
other. The leaving all the appliances on trick is really good.
Yeah.
And I might try to incorporate that in my life.
I didn't like that because it makes it harder for me to believe that she's an animal lover. It's too risky with pets.
Okay, that's fair. And I guess I didn't think also about the child stuff. And I would also probably, I don't have one of those countertop mixers, so I'd have to bring more things into the counter to really get the volume that I'm achieving. But it's creativity. Locking someone in the sauna, pretty good as a revenge thing.
The cut.
Yeah.
No,
The
it's never
sautéing
not worked.
vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then sawing the heels off every pair of
man.
shoes.
It was
Yeah,
great.
that was good.
Listen, the creativity
On
in their
the
hatred.
house front, the floor mat, like seeing the floor plan with the color
Sure,
coded
it's
grids,
good. Yeah.
the red, the green, the yellow,
Yeah.
the timeshare in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It's just they're really committing to the bit.
I had, for What's Age the Best, I like when kids get super chubby in a movie that's moving just to advance some sort of story in the fastest possible way.
Yeah.
Where they're like, these parents, they've just lost the narrative. They're in whatever. The former gymnast as a character trait, when it's used as a weapon in movies,
It is very good.
it's always they'll throw it in there when they're trying to show this one. Keep an eye on.
I do think she should have I know she knows she loosened the bolt and the chandelier is not structurally sound, but because of how much of the plot hinges on her prowess as a
Obviously,
gymnast,
she should just,
we
if she can,
should be
She
able
should have
to
been able to
swing.
get out of
flip
there.
there,
She should
yeah.
be able
flip
to
back,
swing.
That's
of
a
course.
good
Yes.
nitpick for later.
Yeah.
When you work that hard, you have to face the fateful decision. What is there left to do?
Profound stuff from Gavin.
Yeah.
He had another couple quotes.
He's got some good quotes.
Women can be a lot meaner than we give them credit for. This is like the Tao of Gavin. There's no winning in this. There's only degrees of losing. A man can never outdo a woman when it comes to love or revenge. There are two dilemmas that rattle the human skull. How do you hold on to someone who won't stay? And how do you get rid of someone who won't go? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You
Those
forgot
are two of the best dilemmas.
the poetry of my sinuses are very sensitive to irritants.
Really,
those cherry blossoms in bloom in
strange
DC.
that the movie opens up with him like
so
sneezing and then lighting a cigarette and talking about his sinuses. However you feel about the framing device overall, it takes a while.
Incredible choice.
So another What's Age the Best. This movie's like incredibly popular in Germany.
Oh yeah,
It's like
I read this. Yeah,
had this amazing. It was such a big success. The German title is Der Rosenkrieg.
well, that's also a better
It's like
title,
my German.
right? Yeah,
Der Rosenkrieg.
Convincing. Yeah.
And it became synonymous with high profile divorce and is now just a word that's used in German pop culture. Der Rosenkrieg.
Interesting.
but it was also the Germans loved it, right?
Germans loved it. Of course they did.
It's
Who
fascinating.
doesn't love a black comedy more than the Germans? I like the line, if we end up together, this would be the most romantic day of my whole life. And if we don't, I'm a complete slut. It was just really funny.
That is funny.
How do we feel about Homer Simpson just wordlessly listening to Gavin's story for 2 hours? Dan Castellaneta.
That's not my favorite part of it.
No, but it's just
Yeah.
weird that became Homer Simpson. I don't know. I don't know how
that is
to.
strange.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a What Stage the Best, What Stage Sideways. I like stinking bitch, dumb bastard, slut, scum, filth, like that whole like back and forth dad. Anything else you have, Mal?
Just Sean Astin here as Josh. I always love
You could have one
Sean
Notre
Astin.
Dame jersey on, right?
I mean, of course, that's a
Sure.
wonderful reference to me. I'm now always forever going to say Samwise Gamgee, here he is. It's like we're back in Middle Earth. It's just
I thought you were going to say Toy
delightful.
Soldiers.
Oh,
What a
man.
run for that dude.
Yeah.
The Den of Thieves Benihana Award for Scene Stealing Location.
Well, it's not Nantucket.
I had Nantucket written down, ironically. But it's probably the house, right?
Yeah, I think it has to be.
The
I mean,
house
it's
is cool.
really it's mostly set in
That's
the
the
house.
thing. It almost
That
becomes
house
like
has to work.
Yeah, it's almost like the set of a play.
Yeah.
Like the entire thing is on
Yeah.
stage in this one location. We do get a couple diversions into some very nice legal libraries, which is appealing.
Right.
But we're mostly in the house.
Yeah, there's that one library that Gavin's in that looks really cool with all those books, and he's got the ladder. It's a great room. The Big Kahuna Burger, where best use of food and drink, obviously the doggy tartars.
Oh, I was going to say the piss fish.
It's a real.
Oh, piss fish.
I actually think this is shockingly in a movie where pate is this central, and we get the good dog moment. A three-way race.
Okay.
Piss fish.
Sure.
It pains me to say, but the Benny fake out pate, and the entire conversation about the sauce during the first dinner party, fresh fig and cognac, which Gavin then uses as lubricant for the
Sure.
foot
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. This movie used food really well. The Mallory Rubin Award. Did this movie need
boy.
a better sex scene?
Oh man,
We always have to do it, which is
Yeah.
on the pod.
I think I'm prepared to shock you. This might be the first time my answer to this question has ever been no. I think that this is an
Wow.
incredibly horny but perfectly calibrated
Perfectly
movie.
horny
Okay.
movie.
I'm surprised. What I'm going to say is if she's going to be a gymnast,
Yeah.
we need a little more. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? They use it once, but they mention the multiple orgasms. Do we see any of them? No, we do not. We don't even see one, let alone 3 or 4.
But
I
this
think-
movie was R, right? I think it was.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have to be. So
Yeah, they
let's-
could have really
think
earned
the
the R.
reason that works because it becomes a part of the text. We
Sure.
build toward you mentioned the like you still need me to sexually reassure you, right? Even though we discussed each other's scene. And the fact that this like probably fake orgasm that like wasn't even this very convincing theatrical performance is the thing that after like many sequences of trying to kill each other, he's still like absolutely let's fuck surrounded by a mousetrap